'Twas the night before Nebraska fall practice, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse, or something along those lines. Listen, this is an exciting time to be a Husker fan. Nebraska kicks off the beginning of fall ball tomorrow morning. So tonight, I'm going to talk about, in my opinion, the biggest storyline going over these next couple weeks. 7 Nebraska Cornhuskers who have the most to prove. It's now or never for them. Some seniors who have to prove themselves or else they might get benched. Some younger players who have the opportunity of a lifetime to rise through the ranks and potentially start, and so much more. These 7 Huskers, they have it on the line. They need to prove themselves or else. So really quick, we have a lot to get into. Hey, if you're excited about fall ball starting tomorrow, I know I am. Hit that like button. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Listen, the season's almost here. And this is the only place in Nebraska YouTube where you get daily content talking your favorite team, talking Huskers. It's a no-brainer. It takes 2 seconds. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. But without further ado, we have a lot to talk about. Nebraska kicks off the beginning of fall practice tomorrow. It will be for 4 total weeks. And after those 4 weeks, it's game week against Cincinnati. Of course, we have our calendar set for August 28th, that Thursday night at Arrowhead Stadium. But tonight, I want to talk about the 7 Nebraska Cornhuskers who, in my opinion, have the most to prove over these next couple weeks, because if they don't prove themselves, it might be the end for their career. So I just want to get things started with, in my opinion, the player who I have my eyes out for the most. I need him to break out. I need him to shine because he's a complete X factor for this entire Nebraska football team. You probably already know who this is. This is a former 5-star. This is a defensive lineman. He's a transfer coming in from Missouri, none other than WilsonDittman. He has so much to prove over these next couple weeks during fall camp. Because right now, a lot of SEC fans, a lot of Missouri fans, they're calling him a bust. They're calling him somebody who's just never going to live up to expectations. And that's not the case with him. He's somebody who's super athletic. He's already the most talented pass rusher on this team. He's 6'7" for crying out loud, put on a lot of good weight this offseason. But the big concern around WilsonDittman has always been his off-the-field activity. Never what he does on the field, because we know how athletic he is. We know how gifted he is. He has the potential to be a first-round NFL draft pick. The problem with Williams is what he does from Monday to Friday. How committed is he? Is he going to show up on time? Is he going to learn the playbook at a high level? Is he going to fully commit himself in the weight room, right? So that was always the concern. But so far at Nebraska, he's hit the nail on the head. He's done everything right. He was phenomenal in spring practice. He was phenomenal during the summer. He's somebody who's doing everything right on and off the field, but that needs to show up when we start off fall camp. Because he, unlike any other player on this roster, has the ability to revolutionize and change this defense with his play alone. Because he's the only player on this defensive lineman who is a threat getting to the quarterback pretty much every single down, with his athletic ability, with his long arms, with his jump off the line of scrimmage. Okay, this defensive line right now is comprised of run stoppers, whether it's RVP, Cameron Lenhart, Keona Davis, Elijah Judy, right? They're all run stoppers. The only problem with this defense really is they don't really have an ability to rush the passer. Okay, WilsonDittman can change that with his play and his play alone. So depending on how he performs in fall camp, he could be somebody who only plays on third down, or he could be an every down type of guy. He could be a starter. Or if everything goes wrong, you just never see him. That can't happen, because if he breaks out in a big way, he takes this defensive line from being maybe a B+ unit to potentially an A+. Need him to break out. But he needs to continue to do all the right things on and off the field. Eat at a high level, be in the weight room at a high level, be a great teammate. And for that reason, if he does that, man, he could change this defense for the better. So I'm excited to see what WilsonDittman is going to do in fall camp. That's a big guy my eyes out for, because he could change this defense with his play alone. But let's go to the offense. A veteran player who the coaching staff, they like to hype up. They like to say that this guy is the best player on this, one of the best players on this offense. He's super physical. He does all the right things, but we've just never seen it. And he's a veteran. This is Janiran. It feels like it's now or never for Janiran, because he was a former 4-star recruit. And honestly, I think that the coaching staff, they've completely misutilized him throughout his career. When Matt Rowe got here, they moved him to fullback. They moved him to tight end. They moved him all over. If you're a 4-star wide receiver, you shouldn't be playing any other position, right? That you're never going to make the NFL at a fullback position, okay? He's a wide receiver through and through. So they finally moved him back to his original position. They recognized their mistake. He's incredibly physical. We know that you can play him all over the field, in the slot, at wide receiver X, at wide receiver Z. That's great. But we need to finally see it from a statistics standpoint, because they only had about 60 receiving yards last year. He really didn't do much of anything. Janiran needs to prove this year in fall camp that he continues to be one of the better receivers on this roster, and he's worthy of playing time, because there are a bunch of guys under him that are chomping at the bit to get above him in the depth chart, whether it's a Demitrius, a Cortez Mills, a Jeremiah Jones, even some of these tall receivers like a Quinn Clark or a Keelan Smith, okay? This receiver room's loaded. So in the past with Nebraska, they played some of these senior players over some of the talented freshmen, which they should have done. Janiran Bonner is a great example of that. So Janiran needs to prove that while he's a veteran, he's worthy getting playing time, because I don't want to see him on the field this year if he's not better than Jeremiah Jones or if he's not better than Cortez Mill. So it's pretty much now or never for him. Prove that you can use your physicality and you can use your speed and your jump ball ability for the better. But if you're not breaking down the big way, it might be over for him. We just might not get on the field. I'll tell you this, Daniel Short, Dane Holgerson, they're going to play the best players at wide receiver. So Janiran Bonner, pretty much his career is on the line. Then, keeping with the offense, let's go to the trenches. Another physical player, but at a different position of physicality. At right tackle, Teddy Nebraska. This is a huge fall camp for him. And I'm not even worried about the on-the-field stuff. I know pretty much everything I need to know about Teddy. He's a pretty darn good tackle when he's healthy. He's pretty darn good. He's great in the pass pro. He's pretty decent in the running game. He has good leverage, good drive. Like, Teddy's somebody who's solid. We know what he is. That's not why this fall camp's important for him. It's important for him to stay healthy, to prove to the coaching staff that, hey, if you're going to throw me on the fire against Cincinnati as the right tackle starter, that I can play in all 12 games, that I'm just not somebody who's going to get hurt, week 2 or week 3. Teddy needs to prove to the fans, the coaching staff, and himself that he's going to be ready to go all year long. That's the only problem with him. It's that every single year Teddy's got injured. So it's a huge fall camp for him where I think, if the coaching staff is confident that he's going to stay healthy the entire year, they'll start him. But even if he's outplaying Tyler Knack, they might still start Tyler Knack because they're like, well, I'd rather start somebody off the get-go who's going to start the entire year rather than Teddy who, well, let's just put him off the bench because we don't know if he's going to stay healthy. We just don't want to take that many reps right off the get-go. We want to ease him into things. So Teddy needs to prove to the coaching staff that he's going to stay healthy, and for that reason that he needs to start against Cincinnati. That's huge because I think he's a lot better than Tyler Knack or some of the other options at right tackle. Then let's go to the defense. Another veteran player whose job might be taken away from him if he doesn't play up to snuff. This is actually a single-digit player. Somebody who's a black shirt. Somebody who's been a star since he was a true freshman. This is Malcolm Hartzog. Now, we know that Malcolm Hartzog, he's going to likely start at the slot this year for Nebraska, but we know how talented this DB room is. Whether it's a Larry Tarver, a Mario Buford, a Amari Sanders, Jeremiah Charles, Bly Hill, you just go down the list. There are a lot of talented young guys who are trying to get ahead of him. And Malcolm Hartzog has struggled the past couple years. He's been very, very bad in man coverage. He's somebody who's a ball hawk through and through. But when you're a ball hawk and you're trying to get interceptions, oftentimes you'll take your eye away from the receiver and put your eyes on the quarterback. And you'll get burnt. And he's gotten burnt over and over again. He's given a lot of big plays for Nebraska. So Malcolm Hartzog is somebody that the coaching staff, they've hyped him up for years. He plays great in practice, but on game day, he doesn't play great. So this is one of the reasons you brought a new secondary coach in Asa Williams. You brought in Phil Snow to give you a fresh perspective, some fresh eyes. And they might see something different. They might say, okay, Malcolm Hartzog just isn't very good. We're going to start Mario Buford over him. We're going to start potentially a Larry Tarver over him. They will do that. Okay, they got no bias in this room anymore. They got no veteran bias. So Malcolm Hartzog, he's got to prove to everybody that he's worthy of starting. But I'll even tell you this, even if he does have a good fall camp, but he struggles to begin the year, they're going to pull the plug pretty quickly. They're going to put in a Mario Buford who's super talented or a 4-star Larry Tarver, right? So Malcolm Hartzog just got to prove himself. He's got to prove more than anything that he's worthy of being a black shirt and worthy of being a single-digit player. You got to prove that because he's great in practice. Like I hear every year, Malcolm Hartzog's killing in practice, doesn't show up on game day. Like we need less practice demons. We need Saturday demons. Guys who are actually good when we're playing against Big Ten squads. Then going on to back to the offense. This isn't an individual player. This is honestly just an entire positional group. The tight ends. Every single tight end needs to prove themselves. Mac Markway needs to prove himself. Former 4-star. Injured his entire career. Figure it out. You're super talented. You could potentially start. Card Nelson, how healthy are you really? Supposedly you're healthy. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully tight ends in your new role. Can you show that you're a competent blocker at that high level, right? Haarberg. What's Haarberg's role going to look like? Can you ease into that tight end position and outplay some of these guys, right? That's going to be hard. And then Luke Lindenmeyer, proving himself more as a vertical threat. We know he's a great blocking tight end, if not better than Nate Borgature, but can he be a threat, in man coverage or find the soft spot in the zone, get a couple, yards, right? So this whole tight end room is a big, big positional battle. All of them have something to prove, and that's why we have no idea who's going to start there. And that's something that I definitely have my eyes out for. But more than anything, Mac Markway, man, like if he can break out, that could be huge for this Nebraska offense with Dane Holgerson. And then two other guys. Jamarion Parker is somebody who has a lot to prove because he has a golden opportunity. I don't think Jamarion Parker knows how big of an opportunity he has. Jamarion Parker has an opportunity to play a lot as a true freshman with how open this running back room is. You have EJ and that's it. It's all open. You got Isaiah Mozee there who's kind of a running back, kind of not. You have Quinn and Ives there. The coaching staff likes, supposedly, but actions speak louder than words. Mekhi Nelson there. But I'll tell you this, Jamarion Parker is so athletically gifted. He's so fast. He's put on 25 pounds of muscle since he's got here. If he just stays healthy and does all the right things off the field, I see no reason why Jamarion Parker can't be our running back too. And in that case, I feel a lot better about this running back room. Because Nebraska, we've started a lot of true freshmen over the past couple years at running back. Well, there was an A.J. Allen, a Gabe Irvin. We did that with Maurice Washington back in the day. Like, we will start these true freshmen if they're good enough. Jamarion Parker, I hope he breaks out, and I think he will. Just gotta stay healthy. That's the number one thing for him. But, if he can prove himself, he's going to be running back 2 going into the season, and potentially as the season progresses, he could even share carries with them, and that's how good I think Jamarion Parker will be. And then, last guy, who in my opinion, had a lot to prove. This is a quarterback, but it's not the quarterback you're probably thinking of. It's Marcos Davila. I feel great about Dylan. Dylan has a lot to prove, yeah, but that would be kind of the cliche pick. Oh, Dylan has a lot to prove. Like, sure he does. But I think Marcos has a lot to prove simply because he's somebody who's so talented. I'd say he's almost as talented as Dylan. He could throw the ball 1,000,000 yards. He's a great build on him. The thing about Marcos is just simply learning Big Ten defenses. How developed did he get during the summer? How locked in is he really going to be? Because if he's great from an IQ standpoint, he's easily going to be quarterback too. And as I've said over the past couple weeks, there's a lot of confidence within that Marcos Davila camp. Like, whether it's him, his agent, his family, Robert Griffin III, who's his mentor. Robert Griffin III told him to commit to Nebraska, by the way. There's a lot of confidence within that facility, for those group of people, that if Marcos Davila were to get on the field, he would not ever give that position back. Again, you can have your opinion about that. I absolutely have my opinion. But he's so talented. So if he can break out in a big way, it just bolsters this Nebraska quarterback depth. And we need that quarterback depth because we have not had a lot of success keeping our quarterback healthy over the past decade. Yeah, Dylan was healthy all 13 games last year. That's great. But that's, odds are that's probably not going to happen again. So we need Marcos to be ready to go. I'm telling you, if he is great from an IQ standpoint, learning Big Ten defenses, learning the speed of the game, and he's thrust in the situation as quarterback too, I think he's going to be pretty much as good as Dylan. Maybe a little bit of a step back, but he has the ability to win us football games. I just don't know if I think Jalen Gramstad can will us to win. So that's why I'm rooting for Marcos to be our quarterback too. All right, guys. Those are the 7 players who have the most to prove in Nebraska fall practice. Obviously, there are a bunch of other guys. Like, you could say Dylan has a lot to prove. You could say Demitrius Bell has a lot to prove. Elijah Pritchett has a lot to prove. I would say Cameron Lenhart has a lot to prove. I would say even a Javen Wright has a lot to prove. A Seer Wright to take that step forward once again. A Marcus Buford, right? All those guys have a lot to prove. John Hole has a lot to prove. So you can go any which way with it. So I want to let you know, or excuse me, I want you to let me know if there's a guy I didn't mention who you think has a lot to prove. Let me know in the comment section. Hey, if you made this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe, man. I'm super excited about fall camp tomorrow. We'll have a mega show coming out tomorrow morning going over everything, so make sure to be there for that. All right, guys, go be grad, go Matt Roll. See you tomorrow. Football is back.